So one of the really remarkable applications of human software engineering is we have a technology called the wave maker, which is a device that works on the same principle as a noise-canceling headset. Noise-canceling headsets, people wear them on airplanes and they wear them to listen to music, and what they do is they have a microphone built into them that picks up the environmental noise and electronically inverts the waveform of the noise so that the crest of the wave juxtaposed with the trough of the wave and just cancels it out. And so you put them on and it's amazing, all the ambient noise or environmental noise just gets wiped out. Well, the wavemaker technology uses the same principle, but instead of canceling environmental noise, it cancels out unwanted electromagnetic field noise in the body. Well, it turns out that one of the kinds of noise that disturbs a lot of people is one of the major underlying causes of ADD and ADHD, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And there are a lot of people who have this underlying cause of ADD or ADHD who would not necessarily be diagnosed with ADD, but they have it anyway. And the way it shows up for many people, probably about 60% of the population has this bug in their inner human software, is it shows up in things like difficulty in reading. A lot of people have trouble reading. They have to reread things to get the meaning, and they read a paragraph and it's like, where did my mind go? I'm wandering. And it's like, got to go back and read it again to get the meaning because you were distracted. And this is extremely common. And it turns out that the underlying cause of this problem is that somebody in your ancestry had the disease tuberculosis and survived it and then had children. And there's a weakening influence that tuberculosis has on certain organs and systems of the body, causes the awareness to be pulled inward to try and heal it. So when you're trying to read and focus your attention outward, and your body's trying to pull the awareness inward to try and heal this weakened influence, which it never can really heal, but it's doing it constantly. There's this constant sort of, like between trying to focus and being pulled inward, so you keep getting disrupted all the time. Now, people with ADD can read and focus, but it takes a lot of effort. And so there's a tendency to not really like to read or write. Writing things, you write a real short email or just try and avoid it altogether. The first little girl that I worked with when I learned this about this and discovered how to do it, the first little girl that I worked with was about 9 years old, and she had ADD so bad she could barely read like a paragraph of text, and her head would hurt from the effort. So she couldn't read very well. So we debugged her. It takes about 20 minutes. 2 days later, she read an entire book with no problem. Her mom was so blown away by that she bought a wave maker and the special resources and training for doing this and started to debug the friends of the little girl. One little boy had Asperger's, which is similar to ADD, and he could not ride a bike to save his life. His mom would hold the bike while he's trying to ride, and then the moment she let go, down he would go. So this gal debugged this little boy, hopped on his bike, rode for an hour, no problem. Also, her daughter, the 9-year-old, could not throw and catch a ball. Her motor skill coordination just wasn't there. And immediately after we had debugged her, she started to be able to do that. So I was so impressed with that I thought, I better check myself. So I debugged myself because I had been in remedial reading classes when I was in grammar school, very embarrassing. And I'd always had to reread stuff. I was very, very poor reader. And I'd been trying to write books at this point for years, and I'd even hired ghostwriters and paid them thousands of dollars to help me write books, and I just couldn't get it done. I'd get, outline, sort of first part of the first chapter, and it just wouldn't get done. So a few months after debugging myself, I woke up early one Sunday morning, about 4 in the morning, and I just had this thought, oh, it's time to write a book about the pure awareness techniques, which are the techniques that I teach. 36 hours later, the book was written, just being in the zone, like total focus, like, wow, that was high for a week. It was an incredible experience. So that was my first book called Pure Awareness. Since then, I've written and published 4 books, and now I've written and published about 6 or 7 ebooks, so it's getting up in the 10, 12 book range, and they just keep flowing out of me, so there'll be more. So the other thing that I experienced was I didn't really notice whether I was rereading things or not, and it turns out that I wasn't. And it must have been like a year and a half after doing this procedure. I was living in the US and flying back from Europe. I usually go to Europe a couple times a year to teach in Germany or Switzerland. And I was coming back, and I was in some airport changing planes, and I was really exhausted from the long flight and the jet lag. And I had a little time between flights, so I was reading a book in a bookstore. And all of a sudden I noticed that I had to reread a paragraph. And it wasn't because of this problem, it was because I was exhausted. But it made me realize, OMG, I haven't had to reread anything in a year and a half. It was the contrast of that experience. Just amazing. So it's incredible the increase in one's productivity when you do this. I mean, all of a sudden, instead of, if you have to reread something once, you're half as productive as you would be otherwise. If you have to reread something twice, now you're a third the productivity that you could be. So this is a rapid productivity upgrade. And it's really incredible. Not only does it impact reading, it impacts writing. I was able to start writing books, like I mentioned, but all kinds of people, video editors have exclaimed at how much easier it all gets. And just every kind of work, organizing your day, organizing your thinking, being able to stay on task and get things done. So we have this procedure, and one of the cool things is that to test to see if you have this bug in your inner human software, it takes about 2 minutes. And it's so easy and simple, it's completely non-invasive. And so we offer the test completely for free, with no obligation whatsoever.